Okay, it's time to do the final game week of Masters Santiago. You have until Friday when the games start. Of course, there are only 4 teams left in this tournament, so you can only pick players from these 4 teams, or you only should pick players from these 4 teams, I should say. And yeah, if you want to know what I'm doing with my team, I will give you some little tips as well for this final game week. Obviously, first things first, if you do not have 3 players or more making it through to this final game week. So luckily I have 4 players who made it in Mada, Leaf, Ivy, and Exros. If you don't have those players, though, then unlucky, I guess. I think I got unfortunate. I went AG farming, and unfortunately, AG farmed, gentle mates instead. And so I feel like I did get a little bit unfortunate there. Who could have seen that coming? So that hurt my rank a little bit. But yeah, you're going to get 3 transfers to change your players to players who are currently playing. Now, in terms of how, I did, if I go to the leaderboard on the event total here, I was I was in the mid 4,000s before, and I guess I'm towards the upper 4,000s now, but like I'm not doing great. A lot of you are probably doing a lot better than me. I remember doing this for like stage 1 last year or whatever. I was in the top. I mean, there's probably less players then, but I was way at the top. Not so much anymore. It hasn't been that kind to me. As I say, I feel like I did kind of get ripped off a little bit here by the fact that Gentlemates, did lose to AG. But there is a very important thing that you should know about, like, if you're planning to build your team. Again, this is advice from someone who's doing, like, okay, but not amazing. But I think it is good advice for this because, of course, there isn't many teams to pick from, right? But if you think about how this goes, you get your best 2 scores again from however many games you play. You basically want 4 players from the upper final. I'm just going to tell you right now, like, if you can do it, you want 2 Nongshim players and you want 2 NRG players. And the reason for that is because these players are guaranteed to play in a best of 5. And they're also guaranteed to at least play 2 games, right? And 2 of those players will definitely play in this grand final and win a game as well, right? So you just want 4 players here because if you think about it, if you go with 4 players from Paper X and G2, well, 2 of those players are going to only play 1 game. And it's going to be a loss. So they're probably not going to get that many points. So basically, I'm just going to put it out there. You want 4 players, you want 2 Nongshim players, and you want 2 NRG players. Okay? That's what you should ideally get to. Probably not everyone can. If you don't have any of those players from those teams, you're in some trouble. But if you can, you want 4 players in this game. And then, you basically just want to pick a side. Do you want 2 Paper X, or do you want 2 G2? And just try and predict who's going to win this game. Because, again, the loser won't get many points, right? They're going to lose 1 game. The winner is going to win a game and then play in a best of 5, right? So you could argue, oh, I'll go 1-1, but I don't think that's the best way of doing it. I think at this point, you're better off just like risking it and hoping that whatever team you choose of the 2, does well. Again, some of you might have multiple players already from these teams and you might be kind of a bit stuck, which, yeah, what are you going to do? But if you do have the option, kind of like me, who has, 4 players going through already, I do have the option to kind of pick which way I want to go. For someone like my team, yeah, you're basically just, are you going G2 or are you going Paper X? That's the advice. That's basically, you want to have 2 Nongshim, 2 NRG, and 2 of either G2 or Paper X, whoever you think is going to win that game. For me, I already have 2 Nongshim, and I've already got the 2 cheapest Nongshim. Obviously, I need to get rid of my 2 Gentle Mates players, who give me 16, and then if I want to, I have that 3rd transfer to maybe, change something else up. Now, as I say, I don't really think getting rid of my Nongshim players makes sense, because they're already the cheap Nongshim players, so if I get rid of them, I don't even know who I would replace them for. So I'm just keeping Ivy and Exros. Ivy actually has been playing very well, so that's good. And then obviously, I have to get rid of Mini and Starkso. So there's basically 3 different paths that I could go down that I'll now, give you the kind of spiel of what's going to happen. So option number 1 is I keep the 4 players I've already got that are through, and I just get rid of Starkso and Mini, right? That gives me 16 to spend, and I basically at that point just need an NRG player, and if I'm already keeping Leaf, then I might as well go for another G2 player as well. The problem that I'm then left with, though, if that is what I decide to do, is that there's basically only one way I can go because the cost of the players. Obviously, all the teams that kind of made it, have pretty good players, and so they're all generally priced pretty high. It would have been a bit different had AG. If AG would have made it, we could have done something kind of interesting here, maybe, with some low-cost players. But as it is, we've ended up in this spot. So I would probably have to go Starkso to Ethan, and then I would probably have to go Mini to Baby Bay. That's basically the only option. If I'm only going to remove 2 players, that's basically all I can do, right, is go Ethan and Baby Bay. Do I like that? Not particularly. And so then I have 2 other options, right? My other options, as I say, I don't think getting rid of the Nongshim guys makes sense. So I'd get rid of these 2 and then 1 of Matter or Leaf, right? And this is the way it would work. If I get rid of Leaf, what I can then do is say, I'm going to go for double Paper Rex, right? This is my double Paper Rex option. I think Paper Rex are going to win the game. If that's what I believe, then I can go down that route. And what I can do, I would then have 25.5 to spend. And I've written it down here. What I could do is I could go from Leaf to Kiko. So that would be my second NRG player, right? Both controllers. So that's great. Like that. That then gives me 16.5 to spend. And if I want to, with 16.5, I have perfect money to go to Envy and Devi. Right? So that right there is like a very nice way, I think. Getting Kiko, I'm pretty happy about getting Kiko as well as my controller. Right? We'd end up with Kiko, Envy, Devi. Overall, I think actually pretty good. I'd be pretty happy with that. I don't think that looks too bad. However, my argument against doing that, perhaps, is that I feel like most people will have double Paper Rex, right? Most people are going to believe that Paper Rex will win that game. And so there is a potential here that if G2 win that game, that I give myself kind of like an extra chance by essentially mixing that up and going, okay, I'm actually going to go double G2, and I'm going to hope that G2 win, knowing that most people have double Paper Rex. And if G2 do win that game, then I'll be in a much better spot than a lot of other people, right? And it's potential for, a lot of gains all of a sudden for me. It's a bit risky, but it could work. And the way that I would go about doing that is, obviously, I'm going double G2, so I keep Leaf in this instance, and I get rid of Matter instead. Now, if I get rid of Matter, that, of course, means that I have to then pick up double NRG. So the way that one works is that I go from Matter and I actually change him to Jorgamo. That gives me a spare extra 1 because Matter costs a whole 1 more than Jorgamo, right? So, okay, I'm doing pretty well. And then I get double NRG instead and go for Kiko and Brock, right? So I put the Initiator on Brock to replace Starkso, and then I have a wildcard slot that I can replace Mini with Kiko with, and that works out perfect money as well. Now, my problem with doing that, though, is then who do I IGL, right? Because, again, your IGL, ideally, you do want it on a Nongshim or a NRG player. And I could put it on Kiko. That seems like an okay option. But Matter, I think, is just a better option, right? And I've already got Matter. So this is kind of my predicament. There is, like, a little bit of risk, you might say, in like going for one or the other. If I do go double G2, then I have potential to make massive gains if G2 do very well. However, I think that on paper, the Paper X version of the team just looks a bit better. And so I have kind of gone against Paper X so far in VFL, hoping that they might stumble. They did a little bit, but not enough for me to, feel good about it. So I think, unfortunately, I'm not going to win VFL. I have to accept that I'm not going to win. So I might as well try and get a decent rank and finish, above some other people. So I think I am going to go the route of going you to Kiko. And then going from Mini to... I need to make sure I do this right. Mini needs to go to Devi. Yes, Mini needs to go to Devi, who costs 8. And then finally, Starkso goes out for Envy. So that would be the team. And I know that that is a little bit of a dull team. However, there is a way I can still potentially have a big differential here, right? And that is by changing my IGL. And I could put it on someone like Kiko. I could even put it on someone like Ivy, right? Because when you look at Ivy, he got 25 points last time. An 11 and a 14. And that's just playing best of 3s. What if Ivy continues having a good tournament? And let's say Nongshim win this tournament. That is something that I might do. I'm still a little bit undecided. But the IVIGL, imagine he pops off and they win this tournament. Like, that could be a massive differential right there. And really rise me up the ranks. So I think that going for Paper X is the safe play. But let me know what do you think I should do? Should I go off IGL Matter? Am I crazy? I could also give it to Kiko if you know, I want it to be a bit different as well. Though I think that's less different because I think Kiko will be fairly popular. But let me know what you think of what I've done so far in the comments down below and what you would do.